Welcome everyone. In the next session of the subject, Introduction of Land Use in Transportation. Today, this is our lecture number 8 with the title of a Neighborhood Mobility. We will try to understand it. What is the neighborhood basically? So neighborhood mobility basically refers toward the concept of the transportation as well as the planning, where we are trying to involve through design and mapping the routes to move the people from here to there within that specific region and effectively as well as the efficiently. Its basic purpose is that how we can reduce the need to travel, number one. The second is to reduce the congestion and reduce the environmental impact. And its mission is to make the place or to provide the good quality of a life for the people as well as to the its neighborhood. In that specific session, we will try to understand more, a bit more in details that what are the focus of the neighborhood mobility, how it's affecting it individual city is a individual person, and then a bit broader level, and then we will try to understand traffic calming, what are its goals and how we can measure it. And if we cannot come up with the concept of the traffic calming, what kind of effects we can bear in future. What is the pedestrian, what is the cyclist, which we already cover in the previous slide, which we also call the NMT, non-motorized transport. Basically pedestrian plus cyclist are is equal to the concept of the non-motorized transport. And then we will try to understand that how through planning and networking we can achieve that part, the neighborhood mobility part. Okay, going on with a very first slide, that how the functional urban area of the neighborhood can affect, as you people are aware that with the growing number of the population, cities are also expanding. So at the beginning we need to realize the importance and understanding of the neighborhood at the neighborhood level, starting from a very individual level, and then at the city level, and then of course at the province level. So its purpose is that how we can improve the mobility, which should be utilized, and which is the you can call it the comprehensive approach toward the sustainable mobility, or the or for the purpose so that we can benefit or provide benefit to the people in terms of the social cohesion, public health, reduce separation effect. So those will be its you can call that benefit. So those cities are actually increasingly in trying to implement their traditional central approach, which actually decentralize, but through coordinated planning and action, we can achieve the neighborhood mobility. So neighborhood mobility basically refers toward the non-motorized transportation. From that very figure, you can imagine that whenever we are trying to focus on cycle, whenever we are trying to focus on the pedestrian tracks, so that part basically refers toward the non-motorized, which is basically the core and integral part of the neighborhood mobility. Uh, the neighborhood mobility, along with pedestrian and cyclist, also consist of the scatter, roller, and bladder as well. Is you can get the concept and main idea from that specific figure as well. That here we are trying to plan for the people. Okay, plan for the people. So we are trying to build our streets in a way so that we can motivate more people to walk rather than to use their personal cars. So There is a concept which we call the neighborhood mobility traffic calming and rehabilitation. So what does basically it means? So our goal is, or measure is, or vision is that we are trying to reduce the demand to travel. And we are also trying to modal shift. Modal shift means that we are trying to, there is a theory, it's called push, pull, and improve. Okay. So that theory is also directly proportional with the neighborhood mobility as well. As here you can see here, that is our cycle track. Those are our streets for the people where they can interact for the social cohesion purpose. And then here we have the completely concrete separator between that public transit lines as well as with the cycle lines. So here you can see the same route could be used by the tram services, which is connected with the overhead electric supply, and the same is also using by the bus service as well. The same concept could be seen here, that that specific zone is only allow, which is called zone 20. Zone 20 means that you cannot go more than 20 kilometer per hour in that specific zone. Okay. And also here you can see here we have the parking restriction as well. Parking restriction means that you can only park on those streets within that specific time, and you cannot park it after that. If you do the same, then you will get penalty. Okay. So as you can see here that like those streets are not basically paved roads. Those are basically the streets which are built with the specific type of a stone, that when you are moving, so there is a kind of a specific sound, so that you can get the idea that this is not the plain surface. Here you need to reduce your speed. Okay. So neighborhood traffic calming approaches are basically for the purpose so that we can enhance traffic and increase the movement of the pedestrian involvement, either through walking or either through cycling. So there are number of traffic calming devices, approaches, and its effect could be a bit more according to its situation. Okay. But when we do that, when we calm those areas, so what we will get, our quality of life will increase. The location development means that here it like those places, those were before utilized by either by expansion of roads, but now we have completely integration of the people. So only by using the diversified urban design public spaces approach, we can get less car and more people on the streets, and the participation and attractiveness is also increases. For example, if I would like to ask a very simple question from everyone, wherever we are living, so if we can come up with the same concept. So now in the whole world there are two kind of a concept. One is called zonal concept, where we put the restriction. So in some places it is called zone 20, while in some places it's called zonal 30. And there is another concept which is called uh, tour of the city within 15 minutes. 15-minute means that how we can build a place, a city, which could be reached within 15 minutes, not by a car, but either through pedestrian, either through walking or through cycle. So now those two concepts are very much familiar and famous in the whole world, and specifically in the Europe. Okay. So whenever we are trying to understand the concept of the integrated concept on the local level, what kind of approaches we do need and how we can basically measure it. So here you can see here that those are the places, or you can call it integrated spaces for people. Okay. This is the concept where we are trying to push the people so that they can less use their car, but they can use either by bus or by train or by tram service. So means public transportation. And then in the last part, so we can increase the social cohesion, more integration of the people. So we can do the same part at two level. For the purpose, if we can come up with the number one, compact urban design, which means less density, and then mixed use is I already explained before that if we can provide a place where the individual requirement could be fulfilled within 1 kilometer, such as education, working place, hospitals, in everything, if he or she can fulfill all his or her needs and requirement within 1 kilometer. So at that mixed use approach, we are going toward diversity. And then we have the which we call urbanism, or we can call the integrated spaces or public spaces, which could look like that. So it broader concept is so that we can create or plan a city where which is less dependent on the trips, on the journey. So we can build the same city not for the car but for the people as well. We can also come up with the skyline, or which we call to identify and develop those urban attractiveness or attractive places. We can also increase the quality of life in moment as well. So like for example, if you give instruction to the old aged people that he or she should move more, but there is not such kind of a place, okay, so we cannot push them to like walk more or go to like to do all your regular day activity through your personal cycle or car, not by car, okay? We cannot push them. So as an urban planner, as a transportation planner, we need to see that where we can fit all the people to fulfill their requirements, their demands, but we should not build the city where all our trips and journeys should be built or based through personal car. And how we can measure that? The first thing is that there should be a structural special mixture of uses within that neighborhood facility. We should come up with the compact build structure where housing quality is very much high and the same house could fulfill all your demands and need, and you should not move to the urban or another place. And then the third important point is that how we can balance the urban function. For example, why you will move from point A to point B, because you might move for like recreation, education, housing, work, hospital, and so on. But if we provide all those balance function within 1 kilometer area, so less people, you actually reduce the people requirement to travel by only by planning. That's it. Okay. And then if we can make the places accessible and give multiple choices, not only for example, through train or through bus, but we can also push them that while moving from point A to point B, the total distance is, for example, 1 kilometer, and the same person would like to go there by his by walking. So if within that 1 kilometer, if there is a kind of a skyline which can attract more people. So this is the concept of the integrated concept. Again, number one, compact urban structure where we are trying to achieve density function, and then we have mixed use where we are trying to achieve diversity, and then we have the urbanism, or which we call the integrated spaces for the people. Okay, so those are the three basic approaches which we can consider, or which we should consider for the designing and planning for any city. Okay, usually students ask me that, sir, those approaches are only for the city which is already built, or we need to keep those concepts in mind. So most of the city, they start with with 0.5 kilometer, with 1 kilometer, and then slowly transform those places, those cities, those blocks, those zones where they have built before for the car, but now those places are actually built for the concept, so that how they can more attract people and kind of decline or restrict the entry of the personal car. Okay, so we can apply the same approach, of course, at the beginner level whenever we are trying to design any city, but we can also implement the same concept if the city is already built. Okay, what are the building blocks, how we can promote? Or the very simple question is, from where to start? Number one, your first point should be that how we can make accessible and give the freedom to every individual within any city so that he or she can reach to all the modes of transportation. Number one. Second point is that how the housing quality and its suitability according to its density. For example, I would like to just place the two examples. If you ever been to like New York or like Washington, so both of them have different housing structure density. Like in New York, we have so many skyscraper. Okay, hardly you can see the sky. The same is the concept in like Shanghai and Beijing as well. But if you take example of Paris, if you take example of Amsterdam, if you take example of like Munich, so what is their concept that they only allow maximum of 3 to 4 buildings anywhere in the city, because this is the people perception or perspective that they want to see the kind of a sunlight whenever they come out from the tube station, from the underground subway. Okay, so this is the which we call suitable density of the structure of the building. Okay, and then the third point is mixed use, which we already discussed in a very detail, that we are trying to focus on the diversity, so that how all the function could be established within the area, within the surrounding, so that he or she should travel less. And then fourth part is that how we can come up with a kind of a facility which are free facility for all the neighborhood mobility. As I discussed before, that in the many countries where they really want to work on the neighborhood mobility, so their strategy is that they have completely separated the pedestrian, the walking track from the other transportation facility. So those facilities are basically pedestrian or the curb separator, while the cyclist lane are completely again separated from the regular public transportation. And the second thing what they did, that they offer the free mobility, which they call e-mobility. Okay, e-mobility or e-cycle. Okay, so those e-mobility and e-cycle have a bit different concept. For example, if you can complete your trip within less than 1 hour, in most of the country, they provide you the free cycles. Of course, you just need to take it from the one transit station and then return it to the another transit station. That's it. But in some countries, so like there is a saying that there is nothing like no such thing is a free lunch. You have to earn it. In some countries, they charge you for like less than $1 or like €1 for almost 1 hour. Okay, so it's very according to the country to country. And then the fifth point is that how we can create the recreation and the relaxation areas according to the people demand. And then the sixth point is that how we can provide green spaces such as parks, such as recreational areas, clubs, and so on. And then what kind of local supplies or exist in that specific insanity or the area. And then last part is what kind of facilities are there for the every age people. So like there is a concept in the planning which according to that concept that whenever you design something, that design should fulfill the demand and requirement for the all age people. That's it. Okay. Okay, so next are the what is the framework and potential. So our top priority is here. We are trying to build the neighborhood mobility. What will happen when we create the neighborhood mobility? At one place, it's completely related to the health issue. At the another place, it's completely related to the environmental impact assessment. At the other place, it's completely dependent with the people, with the society requirement, with the requirement and needs. And then at the other place, it's completely dependent with the economy. Okay. Economy means, for example, why you will travel, what kind of attractive living places you do have. So those are the framework and potential of the neighborhood mobility, which we should consider in our mind whenever we plan for the neighborhood mobility. This is the only explanation that I would like to just mention in that specific area, that how we can realize. So this is our realized plan, and this is what we are planning. So for example, those are the places, the first line, we have the within that city with the extension of more people with the growing requirement, that specific city design are decided to build that new block. Okay, so that new block is again connected with what kind of services. The first thing is the new bus line which stop is created. The park is also there. In it, the another part, it's again connected with that specific underground station as well. And then the third point is that that specific city or that space do have any bicycle streets, or what kind of streets are the structure of the street are existing there. Okay, so this is the concept that how we can measure and realized as well as the end plan the mobility. Okay, so this was the first part of the session where we have covered neighborhood mobility. Now we will try to understand the concept of the traffic calming. So what is basically traffic calming? So this is the concept which were generated in 1980s. It means that how we can do the urban development or the urban renewal for the transportation planning. Traffic calming is actually the strategy where we use physically or educational or enforcement measure for the purpose. What to do? To improve the road safety. So traffic calming is actually focusing to improve the safety where at the road. Okay, number one. The second point is how we can improve the pedestrian tracks, how we can prioritize the cyclist tracks, how we can reduce the negative impact of the quality within that specific area. So, but traffic calming means that how we can slow down the vehicle, how we can change the driver behavior, how we can improve the condition which were not built before for the non-motorized transport, and now we are doing that. So if I ask from any individual, so we have different kind of approaches for the traffic calming in any city to reduce the speed, such as what? Number one, speed bumps, or which we call speed humps. What does how it actually works? So those are the kind of a raised crosswalk that line with the pedestrian crosswalk for the purpose so that it could separate that pedestrian track that speed humps so that, for example, if there is a plane surface like that, so here we can just elevate that portion a bit, for example, at a 5-degree level. For the purpose, if the same vehicle is going at a speed of 30 kilometer per hour, so he can reduce it to like 5 kilometer per hour. Number one. Number second is speed cautions. So for example, we can provide the full width of the street where we can only allow emergency and transit vehicle to pass over them. The rest we do not allow anyone. And then we can also extend the curb as well, so which is called curb extension. Or we can also reduce the lane, for example, before if it's 3 lane, so now we can come up with the 2 lane. And that last session, in the last slide of this session, I will just give you the practical example of the traffic calming neighborhood mobility, that how we have applied the same concept in 2017 in one of the project of the Beijing Transportation Department. And of course, we can come up with the street art as well. Street art means that how we can come up with different kind of a portrait, with different kind of a painting, so that we can increase the safety and reduce the usage of the vehicle. So those are the concept of the traffic calming. What will be its goal? The first goal is that we are trying to make or improve the better quality, improve the traffic condition through more equality between automobile, pedestrian, and bicycle. Okay. For example, if someone come up that give me my ride, plan 50% for the car and 50% for the people. Concept number one. The second concept is plan 75% for the people and 25% for the car. The third purpose is that how we can minimize the traffic noises and vehicle emission. Imagine if before we have built 3 lanes like that, and now we have implemented the traffic calming. The first thing we did, we put different speed bumps at different places. We have reduced the number of lanes from like 3 to 1. What will happen? Of course, noise emission, uh, noises, all those environmental impact will actually reduce. And what will happen at the city, that we will have very few traffic accident, because before, out of 100 vehicle per hour, for example, if one accident happens, so now we have like 100 vehicle in 10 hours. So you can imagine, if we come up with the zonal system, if we come up with the traffic calming, so we can improve the quality of the quality life on those streets. But what kind of condition we do need to understand, that those places should be confined with the traffic calming. There should be kind of a concept that we are shifting the vehicle less towards vehicle but more towards people. Okay, so those concepts we need to measure. And how we can measure it? Of course, we can lower traffic load. We can also reduce the negative effects. We can also reduce the non-local traffic as well. Okay, so this is the concept of the street. Uh, so like speed humps are approximately 12 feet in like width. Okay, this is just a very simple understanding. This is the entry only from like that surface. This is the block which is completely closed. Those are basically houses. Okay, so you can imagine what will happen if all those people are entry from have a single entry from here. Number one. Second concept you can understand, that we only provide a single entrance to that school block For example, those are different blocks here. Okay, like that. So we have provided the single entrance from here, and then the same person will actually hip on hip off his cats it like that place, and then come up and will goes like that. Okay. So you can imagine that that specific block is continuously affecting from the emotion, from the emission as well as from the noise as well. And there is a second concept which we called dead end street. Dead end street means that, for example, if those are the kind of a major roads, those are the which you call street roads. For example, if you can come up from here to like that road and then enter here. So here you can only access to like that part, but you cannot go like beyond that part. Okay. So what you actually need, if you need to reach to like that portion, we don't have any place because at every junction, every street is actually separated, or you can call it dead end. Then you need to again come up through that major road and then goes from here and then come up like that. Okay. So that means that we are trying to reduce the zigzag movement. Zigzag movement means if you are not familiar with the specific geographical location, so you might end in a very disaster and it will take a lot of time. So the first thing you need to do is a planner that every street should be with the concept of the dead end. And then second point, where we are trying to reduce its domains, its area by the grid system. Those streets are called loop system or loop street. So here only you can access to like that to like that portion, like that portion. Okay. Only in the central part, it's only connected here. It like that block and that block where you can within grid system we have the loop street as well. Okay. For example, if you enter from like that part, so you can either go like that, like straight, or you can just go like that. So you have three options. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. This is the another example where we are trying to come up with the physical design, that how we can physically separate it. What? The lane of the pedestrian, the lane of the like, for example, we are trying to come up with the individual pedestrian lane, with the cycle lane, with the car lanes. Okay, so either we can come up through streetscaping, like we can build come up with a concept where we can build the come up with the trees, and then next part is we can come up with even marking lines, and then third part is that either we can come up with the actual uses. For example, if the car is moving from here, so he can only reach to like that portion, so beyond that line he cannot move on. Here you can see here that that specific street is closed at this point. So here we have the completely dead end street by come up with a very kind of a huge blocks, and also that wall is also elevated as well at the some portion. How we can improve our quality of the street for the purpose to reduce the noise emission and also diversify our surrounding as well. So here you can imagine this is the only street where there is no single car, single vehicle is allowed it. But of course, you can only go through not by walking, but of course through by cycle. And that street is only for the pedestrian, where the social inclusion means dining is not allowed. But at that portion, this is along with pedestrian, the kind of a dining is also allowed it. So this is the quality of the street map which we can provide it for the purpose to improve the kind of a infrastructure or the spaces, or we can come up with a concept of the traffic division as well. Similarly, in that specific figure, you can also see observe that this is our pedestrian track and this is our cycle track. And here you can imagine that between that parking lane and that cycle lane, there is a kind of a elevated portion, or that cycle track is again elevated from the ground surface so that those vehicles cannot park here. Okay? The same concept could be done through the pedestrian facilities as well. We can come up with the traffic island. Okay? We can come up with the signal system. Even we can come up with the zebra crossing here, pedestrian crossing. We can come up with the overpasses. We can come up with the curb cut, which we called curb bulb out. So here you can see here that if there is a kind of a vehicle who want to park here, so there is a very clear separation that beyond that point, even you cannot go to like those streets. Okay, so there is a clear separation for the purpose to reduce the subjectivity of the you can call the subjective fear uh, if the same person can goes beyond its boundaries. Okay, those are the bicycle lanes. You can imagine that there is in some areas in streets it's completely different and it's completely separated as well. So those are the cycle track with a specific type of a pavement color. Here you can see here we have the cycle track with the clear cycle marking. Even here we have the cycle signal as well. So those are the facility where we are trying to build in the kind of a cities so that we can allow more cycle track. So there should be kind of a proper bicycle uh, admission or usage or entry lane from the footway within the cycle lane to the cycle strap. This is the concept of the public spaces, that how we can increase the social interaction. This is just from my own profile. I have just come up that how we can build the city or spaces within the city which is accessible through public transportation and which is maintained through or coming up with the public traffic kind of a spaces, even for pedestrian, for the cyclist, and of course for the car driver. And then the second part is we have that what kind of public spaces, public places, public squares, public parks could be accessible. So you can see here that this is the New York Times from the New York City. This is, I think, from the Switzerland. This is from the Sagrada Familia from Spain. This is Venice in Italy. So you can imagine that all those cities are actually built within that part only for the purpose to attract more people to move or to cover those places. So there is a concept in the designing that how we can challenge the transportation designer, that how they can create unique characteristic which matches the requirement of the particular places or district, or for example in a city. Okay, this is a place in Spain. It's called Sagrada de Familia. According to the tour guide, so he just informed us that from the last 100 years, this place is under construction, and the architecture are actually working from the last 100 years, but still they are not understanding the actual concept or the architecture of that specific part. And that part is basically considered one of the amazing skyline in Barcelona, okay, Spain. As I already mentioned before, this is the concept of the zone 30, and this is the concept where those figure actually represent that how you can allow the interaction of their parents along with their kids, And also at a very less part, you can also facilitate or come up with the infrastructure the vehicle as well. And this is its practical example. So here you can see the very clear separation of those streets within the car street. Okay, so here cycle movers. This is the concept of the tempo 30 zones in the residential area. As I mentioned before, that what actually cities do, they identify the places where they can come up with those concepts. So you can imagine, okay, here, just example, if you are going at a 30 kilometer per hour, so space to to reduce our speed. And if we are going at a 50 or 60 kilometer per hour, so we need 26-meter space to reduce our car if there is any person crossing that part of the city, that part of that specific road. So our goals is that how we can protect the residential population, how we can reduce the noise emission, and how we can support the urbanistic development. Okay, this is its concept, and all those red portion. So this is tempo 30 or zone 30, and that green part is only like 30 above. Okay, so you can imagine. So that doesn't mean that we can start like very quickly. So it will take time, but this is the concept how we can do it. Okay, but of course, by implementing 30 tempo 30 zones, so we need specific islands, specific like portions which could be codified, which could be identified, and we also need a few legal conditions and support as well from the street traffic bureau as well, so that to come up with like few signals with few specific way of the people. So like before they were going at a 30-kilometer plus speed, and now we are putting complete restriction on them. This is the concept just to show you that how the pedestrian zones or shared zones actually look like. So pedestrian zones may in generally only be used by a pedestrian. Like it could also be used by wheelchairs, scooters, and bladder as well. So through appropriate additional what you call like signage or like signals facility, we are trying to make it non-usable for the vehicle, but more usable for the cyclist as well as the pedestrian tracks. So here you can see here, you cannot even see a single car, okay, here. So, but this is only again connected with only bus lane as well. Okay, bus as well as the tram lane. Here you can see here the same shared space, but only for the cycle. Here only cycle can enter, so this is the specific sign. So you can imagine that all those big streets, very less car, but more people prefer towards walk because the infrastructure is already exists there, and all those places are come up with within the concept of the shared spaces, which is our core function, that how we can come up with the density, uh, diversity, and the diversified share places. Okay, because we are trying to build multifunctional traffic spaces within that surrounding. Within in the continuation to the previous slide, so you can imagine that that shared space exists within the heart of the city center. So those are the main municipal buildings, which we call the skyline. And you can imagine that very less car you can see, but more people are moving or going toward their own personal car or through the pedestrian. So how we can achieve that part? So it's a very simple formula: measures, results, and goal. For example, the first thing is we need to remove the traffic signs, medians, physical divider, and functional allocation. And then its result would be, of course, affects the human behavior, eye contact, speed reduction, and these shared spaces. And its goal, what will happen? Quality of life will increase, skyline identification will also be increased. There will be a huge capacity to build more infrastructure, number of accidents will reduce, and the consumption of spaces to build more and more area, which is the core concept of that subject, will also be reduced. So like, so now this is the task number one for every individual. You need to just let me give you one idea, okay, so that you can get the main concept from the session. We have implemented the same kind of a concept of the shared space in order to achieve the density diversity in one of the funded project of the Beijing municipality. We have, this is the article. I already mentioned that. The article title is Downsizing Strategies for Car, Beijing for People, Not for Car. So we are trying to plan for the people. It was published in 2018 in the Journal of the Periodica Polytechnica Transportation Engineering. Let me make it a bit more so that you can imagine. Okay, so just to give you one concept. So here we have a saying here. I think it's not working now. Okay. So the right to access every building by private car will actually the right to destroy the city. So now you can imagine the concept. What we did, so we come up with the mixed use small block concept, where we have almost for the specific part of that city. The first thing we did, we have converted 5 lanes into the 3 lanes. We have increased the street activity. We have come up with the dedicated cycle and pedestrian track. We have created more community integration. We have come up with the transit oriented network, which we call TOD. We have come up with the compact region with short commuters, okay? And we have also come up with the mixed land use. We have convert local road for community integration. We have put the restriction of the vehicles at every 50 meter. We have convert the right of way from the cars to the people. What happened? Okay, this was one of the block which was considered. So this is the real study which was conducted within the Beijing central part. This was the current situation. Now let me a bit just, okay. So this example is only from like, so this is the only one block here, this block, and the same study we have applied here. Let me just here. This is the situation before. So its width was 1.20 kilometer, and this is its length of 1.6. So those are the secondary roads, which are the study of that specific block. And those blacks are the local road which were existed almost. For example, if we counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So at every 100 meter, there was a single local road. So what we did, we come up with the modified idea, which we call planning for people. We have put completely blockage here. So those were the existing area. So we have only allow vehicle at every 400 meter. And we have like, you can only enter through that part and can reach to like specific parking place. That's it. Okay. The next thing what we did, the same we like did it for the car oriented network to the planning for the people. And then this was the planning for the car, which were before concept, and this was after concept. So the same lane, like 4 lane or 5 lane, were actually converted into the 2 lane only for the car, and 1 lane or the only for the buses. And then we have completely pedestrian and zebra crossing. And then we have the place of the for the social cohesion as well. And this is how those street actually look like in the 3D. So we have allow in like majority of the places a single entrance from right to left, and then the middle complete portion was completely converted to the for the social cohesion and inclusion. Okay, but how we can do it? So what we did, but you don't need to